Hey, what's up, everybody? Adam here. So I have some good news. I was playing with the new Twinmotion 2023.1, the preview version, and they've apparently fixed the object replace finally. So this is really going to open up for landscape designers using Twinmotion the ability to very quickly swap out plant symbols for 3D plants. So this is a big deal, and it puts Twinmotion on par with the node replace feature in Lumion, which was always a huge time saver. I was always really kind of annoyed that the Twinmotion object replace was so broken that it would take forever if it ever worked. But they've fixed it and it's working perfectly and it's working fast. So I'm super excited. Let me just show you quick how this works. So I have a little mock setup here. I just threw some plant symbols in. These are just for demonstration. You can see all the plant symbols here. They all have a name. I have component instances set up. So these are instanced, these are instanced, these are instanced, and so on, right? I've placed these here doing what is called a component array with a plugin from Sam D. Mitch. The plugin's called Component Array. And you basically will take a surface area or a face, and it will allow you to, I don't think it works on the surface actually, just the face, but it will allow you to basically randomize over that face an array, and then you can set a bunch of parameters for that. So just to kind of quickly demonstrate here, if I had a face there and we had something a little bigger than that, something like this, I made it into a component. We gave that a name called test. Oops, I actually wanted to set the axis there in the center like that. And I want to put both of these in the group, and that way I'm going to select the face, I'm going to run the plugin, and that way the only component available in here is the one in the group. If I would do this outside the group, I can actually show you what that would look like. Let's explode this, select that face, let's go up here, component array, and now we have all of the components in the entire model in here. But if we kind of isolate this inside of the group, like so, get in, select the face, run component array, now we'll only have this available. We can set our grid spacing. We want to do that based on how big we made. Let's see, this is right around a foot. So if we would set our grid spacing at 12 inches, they would just be touching, right? Like this. We can do our angle at 45, hit OK. So you can see that these are all touching within that space. If I wanted them to overlap slightly, I would come here, run component array, and let's lower this down to 9 inches. And because this is 12 roughly, and we came down to 9, this should be around 3 inches, and it is, right? 3 inches of overlap there. And it doesn't have to be a square face. It could be any kind of face. So that's basically the way that I do these mass plantings. For this slope here, I basically took a copy of this section of terrain, a little patch. I lifted it up, I flattened it using architect tools from TomTom, and then I deleted all the center geometry that made up that terrain. So I just basically flattened it and then removed all the coplanar edges, so it was just one face. That was basically the shape of this. I did the component array, and then I lifted everything up above the house, and I did a ray tracer drop. TomTom's ray tracer plugin, we dropped down onto the patch that we pulled out. Then I just deleted the patch and I moved all the plant symbols down. So if you have any questions, if you don't understand how to do that, you can let me know. I can make a video on how to do that. It's pretty easy. So this is a component array here. These are all placed by hand. I also use the TomTom plugin called Place, what's it called? Place Component. And I have that set to a keyboard shortcut. Super easy. I select my component, call the plugin, and now it lets you basically place one after another. And you can just click, 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 click. So it's a lot quicker to get in and do it that way. You can do, triangulation really quick like this. works with 3D plants, works with plant symbols. So I'll do that quite a bit for placing. It also will allow you to kind of go on a terrain as well. So you can see it'll attach to the cursor wherever the axis is. So because the axis is in the center, it's going to attach in the center. If I made one here and the axis was off to the side, when I run place component, it's going to attach off to the side. So that's a good thing to kind of understand how that works and remember. All right, so now let's get over into Twinmotion. Basically what you want to do in Twinmotion is there's 3 different kinds of import options. One is collapse, one is keep hierarchy, one is collapse by material, and then one is collapse all. So the 3 circumstances in the landscape designers that's using Twinmotion, the way that you would think about that. So collapse all, that's for imported 3D plants or imported 3D models, furniture, any of that kind of stuff. You don't really need to get in and separate the leaves from the stems, from the bark, and you just want to collapse everything so that when you select it, you can rotate it, scale it. You just got to click on one thing. So that's for 3D objects. For your house model, you want to collapse that by material, right? Because you're getting in there, you're adjusting the materials, you're setting some reflectivity, some bump mapping. So you don't need to have every little piece of a window, let's say. You don't need all of these interior pieces. You don't need, all of this to be separate, every window pane to come in and be accessible. There's no reason for that. So you collapse by material and it will basically put all of, let's say, the siding together so that when I want to adjust the material of whatever this material is, it'll adjust every single thing in the model that has that material because it'll all become one thing, right? So for the plant symbols, however, we want to use the keep hierarchy option. So there's a little bit of a conflict because we have 2 things. We have the house model, which we have to collapse by material, and then we have the plants, which we have to keep hierarchy. So how are we going to do that when both things are in the same model? Well, we're going to have to separate them. So what I do is I'll just get in and I'm going to grab all of my plant symbols. I'm going to use the selection toys, select instances, component instances. Basically lets me just select one, run the keyboard shortcut, and then it'll select all of the instances. And that's a part of selection toys that'll become available in your shortcuts if you download and install that. So we're going to do that there, grab that. That's all of them. And now I think that's all of them. All we're going to do is cut them, Control X, right? I'm going to go into a fresh open SketchUp file here. And then I want to go to edit, paste in place. We're going to paste these in here and you're going to see they're going to sit exactly in the same spot. You can see these are all kind of going down this hill here. Everything is sitting there, the same relationship to the origin point as well, just like that. So the next thing you want to do is, I've already done it, but you want to randomize the rotation because in Twinmotion, when you place the plants, it will actually follow the rotation of your SketchUp component and the transform here. So if it's a hedge and they need to kind of be aligned, that's the only case where you don't want to do this. But all of these, I'm just going to use a plugin called Chaos from Pixaro. And the default setting comes in with scale set here, and it's usually on. I'm just going to turn off scale for now and not really scale. If you wanted to scale, maybe do it slightly. So something like 0.95 to 1. And that'll just give you slight scale. Rotate is on by default, set to the Z, and it's going to rotate 0 to 360. So it's already set up. I'm just going to hit OK, and all of my components just randomized rotation. Boom. Now I'm done. I'm ready to go into Twinmotion and very quickly turn these into 3D models. So we have the house here that I brought in. And again, let me just do it actually one more time. Let me delete this here. And what we want to do in SketchUp is with the Datasmith plugin, we're going to go ahead and just sync this up with this first button like so. And when we're in Twinmotion, we go to import. Okay, we're going to go over to direct link, and it'll show any SketchUp sessions or anything else for 3ds Max or ArchiCAD or Revit or anything that has that plugin. It'll come up here. So for this import, I want to go this one. This is the house. And again, I want to collapse by material for the house. We're going to go import, and that'll bring that into our scene. Give it a second. It'll start to process. And I also usually come back here and turn on toggle direct link auto sync. And that'll mean any changes that we would make in the SketchUp model would sync automatically. All right, so that's in there. Now we're going to go to our plant symbols. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to come back here. We're going to go to import. Now we're going to select that one. Instead of collapse by material, we're going to keep hierarchy. We're going to go to import. Okay, so there's our plant symbols. It brought them in. It put them right in the exact spot. This little brick's kind of annoying. I'm going to just change that to some grass really quick. There we go. And now we have our plant symbols laid in here. Let me turn off path tracer. It's probably lagging really hard in the camera. Okay, so there we go. Everything's in there. See, I can toggle on and off path tracer. And I do have an HDRI. What do they call them in this version? The environment here in the background. Okay, so this is a project that I made a few videos on where we modeled the mailbox, we modeled these path lights, we modeled this bench, we modeled this custom entry door, these chairs, this little piece of fence. So still have a bit to do, but all of these plant symbols can be easily and quickly replaced just by clicking on it. Okay, so here's the workflow. Click on one, right click, select all instances. Okay, and you can see that they're all selected. Now I'm going to right click again, and we're just going to go to replace object. We're going to come up here. I'm going to go to my user library, and we're going to replace this with this blue spruce. I'm going to hit start replace, and just like that, they are now in there. Okay. And we have transform on, which will respect our transform. If I wanted to now, because when I brought this in and collapsed it. So I did collapse all. So there's no parts to it. It's all just one thing. All right. So if we were importing a plant like this, we would go import geometry. We would go open. We would come down here. Let's bring in. And what's cool with Twinmotion now, you can select multiple things and bring them in. So I'm just going to grab some random stuff here and let's bring in a couple things. You get the idea. So, and then just hit open. And for here, again, collapse all, import. That'll go ahead and import them. Now, if we want to use them in our object replace workflow, we need to add them to our user library. That's very easy to do. Let them import. If you want to set up the materials, if there's some materials that you want to set up, add some bump maps, do that kind of stuff. You do that first and then add it to the user library. But for now, what we can do is just for demonstration, I'm just going to add it straight away. And then they're going to become accessible to us to replace these plant symbols. Okay, so I'm going to say keep both. Just in case two plants have the same name, we would do that. Sometimes if I have variations of the same species, I will set it to use what's in the model so that it doesn't create multiples of the exact same thing. But sometimes if something shares a name, we want to have them be unique. All right, so those are all coming in very very nice to have this ability to do bulk importing. And you can see that they are all coming in. Some of these are way out of scale for some reason. And what we can do here is let's scale this down. And same here. I'm going to go 0.1. Okay. So the flowering plum looks okay. I'll just right click on it. I'm going to go to add to user library. And now I can actually just delete it. Right. So this one looks okay. I'll go to add to user library. We can just delete it. Let's see. This one looks kind of massive. So let's hit 9 on the keyboard. We're going to scale it down, hit 8. I'll lift it up. And still a little big. Bring it down, something like that. We're going to go to add to user library and then delete that one. Do the same thing here. Let's lift this up. Let's go 9, scale this down. Add to user library. Let's delete this. Not sure what's going on with that one. Okay, that one's there. That one looks pretty good scale-wise. So let's go add to user library. And let's just delete the whole thing. The hornbeam, I think I already added it. This carex might be a little big. Let's hit 9, scale that down. Right click, add to user library, and then delete. And where's this guy at? We can also right click, go zoom to selection. Okay, that looks scale wise. Let's go add to user library. Click here, delete it. And then this one obviously got a little bit too small. And we can do the same thing there. So now they should all be sitting here. If we come down in our user library, so depending on what we needed, could drop something in like that. Okay. And now let's start replacing some more. So these down here, I think we have set for daylily. So workflow, select all instances, right click, replace object, come up here, find the daylily. Let's drop that down and then just hit start replacement. And that should come in with transform on, respect that rotation. Okay. They look a little big. So this is local, but it still doesn't quite respect. So if I wanted to, if I'm like, okay, that's too big, doesn't really look right there, I can still replace it. So let's delete that. Let's drag in, let's drag in this Russian sage here, and then just hit replace. And now we can replace all of the daylily here with Russian sage. All right, so maybe that looks a little better. Let's come up here, grab this, right click, select all instances, then right click and replace object. And let's do boxwood, maybe this green gem, drop that in there, hit Start replace. Oh, that's a little big. Try this one. Okay, so something weird with the axis of that one. Let me see if I try that again. Yeah, something's going on with the axis on that one. So we can go with this one and yeah, for some reason it's just not respecting the individual transforms here, but I'll just call that big bushy hedge there. And then I think we had some Nepeta in the front. Here. So again, select all instances, right click, replace the object, and drop that in there, start replace, and boom, just like that. Okay. So let's go here, grab these guys. Oh, you know what? I think I messed up. And these are still sitting. So you see when I tried to select those, it selected everything. That lets me know that these are collapsed by material. So let's go back here. I forgot to bring these over. I'm going to select all. I'm going to cut them. We're going to bring them back here. We're going to paste them in, and it should update automatically. Yep. Yep. So now there it is because we have this button pushed on both. So whatever we're doing is updating automatically. Right click, select all instances, right click, replace object. I think I have a geranium. Let's drop that in there. Go ahead and start replace. And it's finally working. So this is the workflow that I always wanted in Twinmotion, where you can get in and just really quickly use plant symbols to build out your scene. Let's see, a couple more here, and then we can call the video because it's just redundant, and I'm sure it's glitching pretty bad. So we had some boxwood here. Obviously, you can do this with the Twinmotion library as well, right? So select all, place object. You can go up here to vegetation, bushes, and if we wanted to put any of these in, we could. Just to kind of demonstrate. Oops. Okay. Same deal. Replace object. You could also use the Sketchfab stuff. And what you need to do is bring it into your scene, and then you can save a Sketchfab model to your user library and then access it to replace plant symbols, which is pretty cool. So I am not 100% sure if it works with the Quixel Mega Scans. I know these have to kind of be broken apart. To kind of figure out which ones you want to keep. Yeah, so it's letting me bring them in for the replace, but it looks like it's doing all three. So what we might have to do is grab just one here and add to our user library. And now this will probably come up here in our user library at the very bottom. There it is. So there's that one that we grabbed from Quixel. So now I can get in and grab all of these. Go down to, actually, let me see if I can get back to just having those plant symbols there. There we go. Select all instances, replace object. Now we can drag that mega scan, and you can see that we actually were able to do that, which is really cool. So that opens up all the possibilities to use not just mega scans, but Sketchfab, anything to replace now in the new Twinmotion. So it's pretty cool. All right, so let's replace these. Maybe try this as Stilby. Okay, we don't really want that either. We could, let's try this hydrangea. So you're starting to kind of understand how it works. It's pretty simple. Maybe this guy back here. Throw in not sure why that one's not working. I was doing some tests earlier and that one was actually working, but so let's try the Ivory Halo Dogwood. Delete these two as options. There we go, that worked. And then if we wanted to grab these guys, the ground cover, select instances, replace object, and let me try this Carex here. It's probably going to be a lot. Oh, well, something went screwy there. So let's undo that. Let's try the dianthus. There we go. Whoops. So I think that kind of explains basically how things work. Let me get back here where the camera's working again. If you do have any questions, let me know. I can kind of break down whatever, just try to give some tips on how to do this, how to use the workflow, how to place the plant symbols in SketchUp, some of those little pointers and techniques for how to do that, and then how to import that by separating between collapse all, collapse by material, and keep hierarchy and which applies to which. And if you understand all of that, then this becomes a really powerful way that you can design in 2D, take your 2D plant symbols, bring them into your 3D model, drop them down onto your terrain, your 3D surfaces, move a copy over into another instance of SketchUp, use your direct link plugin, access both of them at the same time, and be able to go through systematically and replace those plant symbols with 3D plants that you've either imported or used through the Twinmotion available libraries. All right. So I know that was a lot, but I hope that was helpful. Hope that explains some things if you're a Twinmotion user. Again, if you have questions, let me know. I'm going to leave it there. Hope everybody has a great day. See you in the next video. Bye for now.